My name is Alina Vance, and for a while I lived what felt like a storybook life right here in Charleston, South Carolina. The kind of life where the sweet tea is always cold, the air is thick with the scent of jasmine, and every cobblestone street seems to hold a centuries-old secret. I was 34, and I had met a man named Marcus who felt like the city's best-kept secret, given only to me. Our relationship started like a whirlwind romance you'd see in the movies. He was handsome, charming, and seemed to understand parts of me I didn't even know how to put into words. We had so much in common it was almost spooky, and I found myself opening up to him completely, far faster than I ever had with anyone before. It was intoxicating. He was an expert at creating these perfect, unforgettable moments. A few months into our relationship, he took me out on his small boat to one of those little barrier islands just a short ride from the harbor. It was completely deserted. He'd packed this incredible lunch, complete with a bottle of chilled limoncello. We spent the afternoon diving for shells, and he emerged from the water with this giant, perfect conch shell, presenting it to me like a crown jewel, a token of his love. Another time, he took me to his childhood home, a quiet, empty house since his parents had passed away. He walked me through the rooms, sharing stories, and then he handed me this small, worn wooden car. He told me it was his favorite toy, the one thing that held all his best memories. I held it in my hands, feeling the weight of his trust, and I was absolutely certain he was the one. But you know how they say if something seems too good to be true, it usually is. The beautiful dream began to fray at the edges, slowly at first, then all at once. The change started with little things, tiny verbal jabs that would catch me off guard. He'd make a sarcastic comment about my dress or something I said, and it would plant a seed of insecurity that would gnaw at me for days. Then he started flirting with other women right in front of me. We'd be at a rooftop bar, and he'd spend just a little too long smiling at the waitress, his eyes lingering in a way that made my stomach clench. When I would eventually break down and cry, he would immediately transform back into the loving, romantic man I fell for. He'd apologize, hold me, and swear it was all a misunderstanding, that he only had eyes for me, and for a little while things would be perfect again, but the cycle kept repeating. His outbursts of cruelty got worse, and the periods of peace grew shorter. I felt like I was constantly on trial, having to plead my case and prove my love just to earn a few scraps of the affection he used to give so freely. I was exhausted, emotionally drained, and walking on eggshells in my own life. The real breaking point, the moment the floor fell out from under me, happened on a Tuesday. I had just gotten out of the shower, wrapped in a towel, when I walked into the bedroom and saw him on his laptop. He closed it quickly, but not before I saw the unmistakable layout of an online dating site. My heart hammered against my ribs. When I confronted him, his face was a mask of innocence. He claimed he was doing it on purpose, that he wanted to see if I would get jealous again, to see if I was becoming that controlling girlfriend he hated. He said he wanted to be sure I saw it. I didn't believe him, not for a second. A cold, sick feeling washed over me as a memory surfaced. Early in our relationship, when he was still the perfect man, he had called me, frustrated because he couldn't figure out how to set up an account on a chess website. He was surprisingly bad with computers. I tried to walk him through it, but the site's security questions were complicated and he got impatient. He just blurted out the username and password he wanted to use for everything, asking me to remember it for him. Now, staring at his laptop, I remembered it perfectly. My hands were shaking as I waited for him to leave the house. The moment the front door clicked shut, I opened his laptop, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. I navigated to the dating site I'd seen and typed in the username and the password he had told me all those months ago. I hit enter, and just like that, I was in. I was looking at his secret life, and what I saw shattered me. It was so much worse than I could have imagined. There were dozens of conversations with other women. It wasn't just flirting, it was explicit. He was meeting them, sleeping with them. But the part that truly broke me was reading what he said about me. He shared our private jokes, our intimate moments, twisting them into complaints. He described my insecurities, things I had only ever told him, and presented them as reasons he needed to look for something better. He painted me as this flawed, difficult person he had to endure. The pain was physical. It felt like a punch to the gut that stole all the air from my lungs. I slid down the wall and just sat on the floor, sobbing like a child. Everything, every perfect memory, the island, the shell, his childhood toy, it was all a lie. The man I loved didn't exist. I cried for hours, a deep, wrenching grief for the love I thought I had, and then somewhere in that pit of despair, something else sparked to life. The sadness curdled into a cold, hard anger. My tears dried up, and a strange calm settled over me. He had made a fool of me. He had taken my love and my trust and used it as a weapon against me. I wasn't just going to leave, I was going to get even. That night, I created a new online dating profile. I chose a photo of a woman who was beautiful, but in a way that was completely different from me. I gave her a mysterious, alluring name, Serafina. I wrote a bio that was designed to be everything he complained I wasn't: adventurous, spontaneous, uninhibited. Then, as Serafina, I started a conversation with him. It was sickeningly easy. He took the bait immediately, charmed by this perfect woman I had created. After a few days of back and forth, he suggested we meet. As Serafina, I acted hesitant, playing hard to get. That only made him more persistent. Finally, I reluctantly agreed to meet him at a large, busy coffee house on King Street. The day of the date, I felt a strange mix of terror and exhilaration. I put on a big hat and sunglasses, something I would never normally wear, and went to the coffee shop an hour early. I found a small table in a corner where I could see the entrance perfectly, but where he was unlikely to notice me. 10 minutes before the scheduled meeting time, my hands shaking, I called his phone. "Hey," I said, my voice as normal as I could make it. "I was just thinking about you. Do you want to meet up for a bit?" He sounded distracted, rushed. "Oh, hey," he said. "I can't right now, Alina. I have to run an errand for a buddy. It's kind of an emergency." My heart, which I thought couldn't break any further, sank like a stone. The lie was so effortless for him. I hung up and kept my eyes glued to the door, and sure enough, right on time, there he was. Marcus walked in, looking around with a hopeful, predatory glint in his eye. He sat at a table near the window and waited. For a moment, a wave of panic washed over me. I thought I might be sick. But I took a deep breath, pushing the feeling down and replacing it with icy resolve. He waited, growing more impatient by the minute, checking his phone, fidgeting, his eyes darting to every woman who walked through the door. And then something happened that felt like a gift from the universe. A woman walked in who, by pure coincidence, looked strikingly similar to the picture I had used for Serafina's profile. Marcus's eyes lit up. He stood up, straightened his shirt, and approached her with that slick, confident smile of his. I watched as he said something to her. She looked confused, then annoyed. She shook her head and tried to walk past him, but he was persistent, blocking her path. Her annoyance quickly turned to anger, and she spoke to him in a loud, sharp voice, telling him to leave her alone before she called the manager. Defeated and publicly humiliated, he slunk back to his table. He waited for another half an hour, his face a thundercloud of frustration, before finally giving up and leaving. That afternoon, as Serafina, I sent him a message. I told him that I had been there. I told him that I was the woman he had approached, but when I saw him in person, I found him so physically unattractive that I panicked. I said I didn't have the courage to tell him to his face, so I just pretended not to know who he was. I apologized over and over for being so shallow. He replied almost instantly, saying it was okay, no hard feelings, but I knew him. His ego was his most prized possession, and I had just taken a sledgehammer to it. He was not okay, and I was just getting started. I did it again and again and again. I created a whole cast of fictional women. Each one would chat with him, charm him, and set up a date. Sometimes he'd just be stood up, left waiting alone in a restaurant. Other times, the woman would reschedule once or twice, stringing him along before standing him up. A few times, she would cancel at the very last minute, texting him an excuse just as he was arriving at their meeting spot. I orchestrated at least 10 of these failed dates, each one a small, sharp pinprick to his massive ego. It became a kind of dark art form, finding new and creative ways to disappoint him. After a couple of months of this silent campaign, I knew it was time. I had chipped away at his confidence, and now I was ready to deliver the final blow. I asked him to meet me at a waterfront park, a public place with plenty of people around. He showed up, probably expecting another one of our draining emotional talks. I didn't cry, I didn't yell, I just looked him straight in the eye and said, "It's over, Marcus, I know you've been cheating on me." He immediately launched into his usual routine, denying everything, trying to twist the narrative, trying to gaslight me and make it seem like I was the crazy, jealous one. I let him talk until he ran out of steam. Then in the quiet that followed, I smiled a little, a cold, sharp smile that didn't reach my eyes. "All those failed dates," I said softly, letting the words hang in the air between us. "All those women who stood you up, that was all me." A look of pure confusion washed over his face. He stammered, "What, how?" I leaned in a little closer, and in a voice just above a whisper, I said his universal password, the one he had given me all that time ago for a chess website. Then I turned around and walked away without looking back. I never saw him again in person. A few months later, an email from him appeared in my inbox. It was long and rambling. He said that what I did to him was ingenious, that my revenge was so perfectly executed that it proved I was the true love of his life. He wrote that I had completely destroyed online dating for him, because now, with every new woman he talked to, he was paralyzed by the fear and the faint hope that it was secretly me behind the screen. I read the email and then I deleted it. I never answered that one or any of the others he sent over the years, and he still tries even now. But his messages just go into the void. He wanted a ghost to haunt him, and I was more than happy to give him one. As for me, I took back my life. I found a love that is quiet, steady, and real, built on trust, not grand, empty gestures. Sometimes, when I'm walking along the Battery, I think about Marcus, alone with his paranoia, forever looking over his shoulder for a woman who doesn't exist. And I smile, because the best revenge wasn't just making him miserable, it was setting myself free.